Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Stu and the Nun, episode 386. Both Stu and the Nun have the night off, so you've got myself and my good friend Sean Horde. Welcome,
Hello.
Sean.
Thanks for having me again, Rob. I appreciate it.
So you're in the far east southern studio in Florida. How's the weather in Florida?
Always beautiful. A little chilly right now, but it's Florida, so it'll get down to about 50, but that's about as cold as it gets, right?
It's been raining here all day, and it's supposed to rain again
Mhm.
tonight. So, but the temperatures are in the 60s, so it's not too bad. So there is a lot going on in the world. A
Mhm.
lot. There's never a shortage of topics. As we say on the show all the time, you can wait right until 5 minutes before the show, and either Trump is going to send something on True
Something new
Social,
pops off.
something's going to get signed, something's going to happen, some plane crash somewhere. You just never know what's going to happen. So, what do you want to talk about first tonight?
Let's start with the Texas redistricting. That's
Okay.
the top of the news, right?
Yeah, I mean, as we know, how Texas goes, so does the rest of the country. I mean,
That's right.
there's the three big players in every election: is Texas, California, and New York, right? And I'm a little surprised. Now they've done it a little bit different, but Texas, when they sent their redistricting forward, a judge shot it down, while California is allowed to do theirs.
So California sent theirs to a vote. Now, I have my opinions on the voters out in California, not Californians in general, but the voting mindset. But there is one point on this, and let me get the wording right. Let me get the wording right. From Texas Governor Abbott. So when this went to court, when they challenged this in court, and this came out in an email from him, and they have this in an actual email, and this was verified on both the right and the left. He typed in 2025, I can't believe a politician as senior as Abbott would put this in an email. Hit these racial percentages.
Okay.
Why send that email? I think that line by itself, and I'm not agreeing with it getting shot down, but I am saying that did not help. That did not help at all.
One of the things that I've talked on and I've harped on a lot on this show is the media's role in everything we do, right? And we all know the media is far left leaning, very left leaning,
right?
And you hear people like, well, you have Joe Rogan and you have Tim Pool and you have, well, hold on a second, those used to be Democrats until the Democrats went so far left that they drove Joe
right
Rogan.
Now they're in the center.
Yeah,
that's
now
right.
they're in the center.
That's right.
But one of the things that you see every time Republicans want to redistrict, they throw out gerrymandering. That is the proper term.
And they've been doing it for years on the left.
But every time Democrats want to redistrict, they use the word redistricting. They use fixing. They use correcting racial lines. They always use very positive or very targeted wording on why and how they're doing it. Whereas when Republicans do it, it's gerrymandering and they're trying to rig the system. And that's one of the very dangerous things about the media, and that I just absolutely cannot stand. Gerrymandering is gerrymandering. Doesn't matter if there's an R or a D or an independent behind it. It's still gerrymandering.
If we look at a map, and we don't have maps here, but we can look at states like Illinois, Massachusetts, California. We can look at those states. You want to see gerrymandering. You want to see what it really looks like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You think what Texas is doing is wrong. What Florida is doing is wrong. Look at Illinois. Look at Massachusetts. Look at New York. Look at California. And these states have been doing it for decades.
Yeah.
For decades. And the way these districts are drawn, it's like my 7-year-old granddaughter could draw something that makes more sense. Like, that's Illinois, right? I mean, look at that. That is drawn specifically to make sure that there are no Republicans in Congress.
What is that little, that 13th? And let me see if I can fix this.
Enlarge it, right?
Yeah, I mean, what is with that bullshit? Uh,
It's the hypocrisy almost makes you want to vomit.
I mean, look at this
Look at
this
that.
13th
Right.
district. What is that bullshit? And then the 15th is split right down the middle. And the second, the
So
second covers this little section to the left, and the section of this is some bullshit.
I don't have the numbers offhand, but I know that the voting percentages in Illinois are somewhere along the lines of 60-40 or 55-45 in favor of the Democrats. So it's a majority Democrat state to a significant degree. But if there was accurate representation in Congress, let's say how many reps does Illinois have total?
I don't know off
Is
the
it
top of my
20,
head.
15? If we went by the actual percentages, it would be 40% of the reps would be Republican. But in Illinois, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's only 2 or 3 because of the way they've drawn it up. But then the Fox pearl clutching over what Texas was trying to do. And then Newsom goes and
does whatever he wants.
Basically lies to his voter base, gets them to vote in his favor just so he can further gerrymander an already gerrymandered to death state.
Right.
It's the hypocrisy is sky high. And all of this really, in the end, Rob, is a moot point. Right. Because we all know the Supreme Court is going to shoot down the VRA. When they shoot it down, likely before next summer, along a 6-3 line, when they shoot that down, regardless of what happens when Texas appeals, or if the federal government appeals on behalf of Texas to the Supreme Court, regardless of what happens with that, I promise you, once the VRA gets shot down, it'll all be a moot point, because you will see a slew of states, especially in the southern United States, do redistricting right away. And that's going to wipe out several seats that should not exist.
Yeah.
That should not exist to begin with.
So there was I watch a lot of testimony in front of Congress, and there was one, and I think it was from under the Biden administration, but they asked him, he said, are people that are here illegally counted in the census? Yes. Yes, people are counted.
Right.
Is the census used to calculate how many representatives are sent to Washington? Yes.
So and they won't answer yes right away. They'll dance around it, but it's
yes. This individual did answer yes. And so when you look at one of the reasons why it's not as big of a deal in Illinois, because they're so far removed from it. And nobody wants to live in Illinois, especially in
California. It's huge.
Yeah,
it's huge
California is very big. That they count these individuals for their representation in California, in Washington.
Absolutely.
And that's a spit in the face to anybody who's here legally. It's a spit in the face to all of the voting public, because that gives California, especially when they've blatantly come out and said we're a sanctuary state and we're going to let in whoever wants to be here. Now, I guarantee, I would bet, every bit of money I have in the bank account, that if 100% of the people came across the border or came there illegally, voted Republican, Democrats would have a problem and start kicking them out.
It would flip. It would completely flip. Yeah. This entire conversation would completely shift.
Yeah.
This, in the end, it's about tribalism and team sports. That's what this is. It's about control. It's my team versus your team. Most voters, they don't look at the issues. They look as, oh, I jabbed you in your eye. I've jabbed you in your eye. I got one over on you. Most people are not forward thinking. They're not thinking, how is this going to impact the next generation? How will this impact my grandkids?
Yeah.
They're like, how is this going to upset my neighbor who's a MAGA supporter? How is this going to upset my neighbor who's a leftist? This is how people think. Sure. And I know this because we both know this. We deal with these people every
Yeah,
day.
yeah. It's that video I sent you. You just want people to die. You know,
That's
the
it.
fear. There's
100%.
nobody. Well, I can't say nobody because there may be some evil people in Washington, but the majority of the people that are elected don't want your children to die. The people in Washington are mothers and fathers. They are grandparents. They are brothers and sisters. They don't propose things because they think intentionally it's going to kill off part of the population. They don't do that. And when you start getting the, well, you want, you know, like the whole healthcare conversation right now, you just want people's the rates to go through the roof, and you want people to die. No, hold on. The ACA was 100% written and passed by Democrats. Then, when it was failing miserably, 100% of the subsidies was voted on by Democrats, who then scheduled it to expire at the end of December. And somehow, that's Donald Trump's fault.
Of course, because they rely on low information voters, which is really on both sides. You have a lot of low information voters. They rely on that. They rely on people only getting their news from either Fox News or MSNBC and not searching for news from other sources, not trying. And now in 2025, it isn't like our parents who are baby boomers who only got their news from 3 sources, ABC, CBS, and NBC, and had to listen to Walter Cronkite every evening. Say, well, that's the news, folks, and and they just had to take it or not take it at face value. Now you have a plethora of sources. The problem with that is this source telling me the truth or not? Now it's overload of info.
You got the power of the world right in your hand.
Right.
Every bit of information is right here.
Just do some digging, but most folks will turn on right before Jimmy Kimmel. They'll turn on MSNBC. Oh, Rachel Maddow said this. That must be the gospel. Oh, turn on Fox. Jesse Waters said this. That must be the no, folks. That's not the gospel. Do some research.
Yeah. Donald Trump was not there when the ACA was supposed to be the end all be all for healthcare. Right. The fact that you have to subsidize it proves that it failed. It's a failure. Right. The fact that you now, you know, these subsidies that are going to expire cause things to skyrocket. You're propping up a paper house, right? You're propping up a house of cards that is going to crumble at any minute. And that's not Donald Trump's fault. That's not the Republicans' fault. Right. I mean, you could argue the Republicans have
failed system.
Well, have hamstrung the ACA a little bit because they've been picking at it and pulling at it like a scab a little bit here and there. But overall, the ACA failed. And I don't think it failed because of what it was trying to do. I think it failed with its implementation. And here's the reason why. Democrats and liberals look at every problem on the planet as the government is the solution. We need more government. We need more government, and all one has to do is look at the DMV or the VA and to see where that's a bad fucking choice, right? You know, just look at those. You can't throw more government doesn't solve the problem, because you can also look at what has happened with student loans. As soon as the government got involved, all of the colleges out there went, well, shit, these are guaranteed. I'll just continue to keep raising rates, and the government will keep giving out loans left and right.
An endless cycle of raising rates, pricing people out.
Yes.
And the only folks who didn't have to worry about it are the generational wealthy and the connected.
Yeah.
That's it.
But why continue to, I mean, one bad choice after another, one bad decision after another.
So I heard a take the other day, and it's something I agree with. A lot of times, and both parties are guilty of this, they know a system is broken. Sure. But instead of fixing it, they'll leave it the way it is. Why did they leave it the way it is? Because they can campaign on that.
On fixing.
And I agree with that. Yeah. And they will posture and preen in front of the camera. I see that locally. I see that in Florida. I mean, nationally, people see it all over the place. A lot of talking, let's get in front of Congress and get a few sound bites and get a few talking points and have a few committees, but nothing's getting done. Why is nothing getting done? Because they can campaign on it next cycle.
Yeah.
And both parties are guilty of this. It's not one side or the other. It's anytime someone comes in to really make change, and this will probably lead us into another topic we want to discuss. Take Elon Musk. When he came in and really wanted to change something, both sides freaked out because it hit their honeypot, and that'll lead you into where we want to go.
You were just going down a path that I was going to bring up, and that was, we talked about, why do they want it? Because they can campaign on it. They also don't want to change it because they're profiting from it.
Exactly.
And it was brought up by one of the members out of Tennessee, I believe, and he said Musk was getting way too close to outing all of the money that was being funneled from these NGOs, these non-government organizations, right back into the pockets of people in Washington through dark money.
And that should piss off everybody.
It should. And I had somebody bring a perfect example of how this works so that people understand. You go to California where they have a major homeless problem. California hires an NGO, says, NGO, we want you to help fix our homeless problem. We're going to give you all this money, and you need to develop a plan and fix the homeless problem.
Where for the past 20 years, they've been doing this.
In that process, is it beneficial for an NGO who's getting government money that never ends to solve the problem? If they solve the problem, they're unemployed. So there's no incentive to solve the problem. And that's the way every NGO works. They take the money, they put a lot of it in their pockets, and they funnel the rest of it.
No benchmarks, no standards,
no accountability.
Not like our jobs where we have benchmarks. We have to prove as architects, as IT architects, we must prove value. They prove no value. Like, oh, okay, we have this money. Oh, you know what? We over budget, under budget. We need more money. That's how this works.
Yeah.
And they have solved zero problems.
There's no incentive to solve it. None.
And Musk comes in with it. Now, you can put some of this back on him with the public bluster and going on. I keep wanting to call it Twitter, but it's X now.
Right. Yeah.
Keep going on X and brain dumping every thought that comes into his mind. I could say there's a negative there too. Sure. Have some mystery to the process, right? But he was getting very close.
Sure.
And they started with USAID for a reason, because that was dark money NGO, and they knew it. Starting there for a reason. Not only that, that was U.S. Intelligence Agency Air America. That reeked of Air America.
Oh,
which
the way foreign funding goes is they don't, and Rand Paul has pointed this out year after year after year. We should not bundle foreign aid into one package and then toss it over the fence to USAID, which is what they were doing. And then those involved with USAID, whether it was the deep state or whether it was somebody else who had an agenda, gets to decide how they spend that money. No, vote per country. Iran, you keep screaming death to America, you get $0.
Right.
UK, not that they need money.
Exactly.
You're our ally. We're going to give you some money. So, Zimbabwe, you keep killing Christians, we're going to not give you any money until you stop killing Christians.
It's just common sense.
That's the way it should be.
The statistics I've read, and these are neutral, third party, right? Roughly 80 to 90% of the NGOs are either funded or backed or funneled their money to Democrats or Democrat-leaning efforts or Democrat politicians. But 10 to 20% of that also goes to Republicans. Even though it's a much smaller slice of the pie, we aren't talking hundreds of thousands or millions. We're talking billions, people.
Oh, yeah.
Even 10 to 20% of billions is still 10 to 20% of billions. And that's why you had senators getting effing squeamish.
Oh, yeah.
Republican senators, well, I think what Musk is doing, needs to slow down and yada, 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 because, no, it's because your honeypot is now getting attacked and you're upset. And
well, you can
that's
even
what's going
you can
on.
even break that 20% down into two categories. I'm sure there's some just straight up Republicans, and then you've got the rhinos, right? That are not really even Republicans. They're Republicans in name only. The Mitch McConnells of the world.
There you go.
Who have been out, out for themselves for the last 40 years, right?
Right.
Right. Yeah. So it's crazy the amount of money. If our government, I've seen this numerous times, if our government has money to give other countries, then they're taking too much from its citizens. Period.
Right.
Period.
That's that's
now,
beautiful.
Now,
that's exactly
but to play the devil's advocate, and I do understand this, but we can find a better way. If we don't pay the Zimbabwe's, if we don't pay the Irans, the Iraqs, and stuff like that, who are they going to run to? They're going to run immediately into China's arms. That's exactly what's going to happen, because if we don't pay them, China will, and that's the game we've been playing, and it's
that's
a very dangerous game.
Yes,
that's the very dangerous game that we've been playing.
So
because we can, we have people that we give money to that have already run directly to China anyway.
You're speaking to the core of America First. That's the core of America First. And I think how you combat that, and again, I'm no expert. I think how you combat that, if they want to play with us, if they want money from us, that has to come with, and I hate how it sounds, but it's the way of the world. That comes with strings.
Sure.
You want our money? You want to play? Here's the deal. You can never play with China. Right. I'm sorry. Sounds nefarious. What they're doing now is nefarious. So
or like what he's done with Ukraine and said, you want our money? We get your natural resources.
That's right. Make it a real quid pro quo. If we're going to do it, make it above water.
Yeah.
You know what? Natural resources. Let's make it above water, quid pro quo. You want our money to play in our sandbox. You can't play in China's sandbox at all. You want to play in their sandbox? Go. But you are done permanently in our sandbox.
Yeah.
And when you frame it to them that way, they're going to be like, China, U.S., probably U.S. because
U.S.
they know
has way much more money.
Way more money, more freedom, and because China's gonna want influence, control, and propaganda.
Well, I was watching something earlier. I watched a video, and it was this British guy, and he was talking about. He goes, someone sent it to me. I think Stu sent it to me, and he was talking about, everybody talks. Everybody outside of the U.S. talks about, the U.S. He goes, where do you get all of your stuff from? He goes, when you go to the movies, are you watching a movie that's based out of China? No, you're watching movies that come out of Hollywood in the U.S. If you buy clothes, if you buy these products, where are you buying them from? You're buying them from the U.S. Now, they may be manufactured in China, but their origination is out of the U.S. You're not buying clothes directly from Pakistan.
Right.
You're buying this stuff from the U.S. So everything that you do is from the U.S. You're not going to the movies to watch a movie with subtitles out of China.
Right.
It's just that way. So if we weren't here, now that sounds a little pretentious for an American to say that, but it is what it is, right?
It's true.
It's
true. Not pretentious at all. It's true.
Yeah.
It's factual.
So if you want to badmouth the U.S., stop buying stuff from us. Stop going to the movies that are made here. Stop, consuming our products. Go, it's the same thing for like the leftists. You want to live like a communist? You can do that today on your own. What you don't get to do is drag the rest of us in with you. You are more than welcome to go get a compound somewhere, 10 acres, 20 acres, 100 acres, and sit on that and make it a communist utopia.
Have a commune and just live in a commune. That's right.
Do that today without us.
It's like folks who leave their country, wherever that may be, Iran, North Korea, Venezuela, and they come here under the guise of, I had no freedom in my country. I hated it. And then they come here and they bash America from the freedom from our blanket of freedom.
Yeah.
And I don't want to control what people say, but the irony of that is crazy. You've come here from an oppressive place to the world's beacon of freedom, but yet you come here to try to churn it into an oppressive place. It's the most mind-blowing.
Well, and it's not even just physical oppression, right? It could be financial oppression, where your country is bankrupt, where it's broke, where the people are starving, where you're coming here for a better life and a better opportunity, yet you want to continue to go in the street and badmouth this country and fly the flag of the country you just came from.
Right. Exactly.
Why?
It's why?
Why? I just don't understand that. That I was reading something earlier today, and this happened several years ago. I think it was under the Biden administration, but it may have been under the first Trump. The Saudi journalist who was working for the U.S. company Khashoggi, that Saudi had killed because he was speaking out against the country of Saudi Arabia. Well, what a lot of the manipulation people do is, well, he was working, and I think it was the Post. He was working for the New York Post. Hold on a second. You're trying to insinuate or lying through omission that he was a U.S. citizen and Saudi Arabia killed him. No, he was a Saudi citizen spoke out against Saudi, and Saudi had him killed because it's illegal to speak out against the government there.
Right.
That is the reality of it.
Right.
I'm not saying what they did was right. I'm
not
saying that.
Exactly.
They shouldn't have killed the guy. But you expect people that come here to retain their identity and retain all this connection to their other country, and you badmouth people that say that they should assimilate to the U.S. way of life, and then you go try to put your values on a country like Saudi. You can't have it both ways. If you come here, you should assimilate, but you can't expect Saudi to in a bubble assimilate to our way of life. They're not going to do it.
When I was a kid, and same for you, we were taught this is the great melting pot, right? And people who come here, they assimilate and they work hard and make this nation great. And if you want to come here and you don't want to assimilate, if you want to come here and just try to make little enclaves of where you came from, especially if where you came from was a place that you didn't like very much, that didn't have values where you could be free, then why come here in the first place? What's the point of coming here? The point of coming here is to try to change us, or the point of coming here was to try to escape an oppression? I don't understand it.
If you want to bring the
opportunity,
here, if you want to bring the positives here, bring your
food. We love that.
Bring some of your culture. Food. I tell my wife all the time, because there's a lot of, and I can't say that I disagree with her on this. She's always like, well, Texas or the country or whatever. You can hate your politicians, but love your country. You can hate your politicians, but love your state. And that can be the same for somebody who comes here from Cuba. That can be the same somebody who comes here from Venezuela. But don't go parading in the streets that you hate this country when you're in our streets. Because if I went to Venezuela and started screaming about how I hate Venezuela, I probably wouldn't make it through the day.
Right. Full disclosure, being a native-born Floridian and lifelong Floridian, I've never met a Cuban. This is just me. I've met tons of them. I never met a Cuban from, it seems to be one of the few countries I've never met a Cuban exile or a refugee or someone from Cuba that's ever said, oh, well, my country, I've never met that.
Yeah,
it always seems to be the Venezuelans, the Mexicans. I mean, I'm not all, but just it just seems to be
Cuba understands. I mean, they've been living under true communism,
real communism.
Yeah,
they get it. They get it.
So, a lot of those other countries, the Venezuela, and Mexico too, has gone through so many changes that they've never lived under one system for too long. Right.
Right.
Venezuela and the rest of that is just, it's one dictator after another. So it changes every time. So, so what do you want to talk about next? What do you want to go into the Cheney funeral?
The Cheney. Let's go with the Cheney funeral.
Cheney
That's
funeral.
more comedy. To me, that's just comedy.
How all of these former presidents and former vice presidents and former staff members and cabinet members from all the previous presidents just showed up. And I made a comment to somebody that hatred can make for strange bedfellows. And when you've got the Harrises and you've got the Bidens, who every chance they had while they were in office, every opportunity,
they
called Cheney everything under the sun.
Darth Vader.
They called him evil. They called him a liar. They called him, he's ready to start World War III. A lot of the same things that they call Trump. Now all of a sudden he's a good guy because he was anti-Trump while he was alive.
Well, in the end, he aligned more with their worldview than he did with the new, air quotes, world order inside our country.
Yeah.
Which is Trumpism, right? So I look at Dick Cheney and George Bush Jr., right? W, as the last of, for lack of a better term, a dying breed, right? The last of a dying breed. They are the last of the rhinos, right? Sure. The last of the what did they call them? They have a name for the type of Republicans that they are: the globalist, the hawkish types, the individualists, the zealots. They are the last of that type. And you have to give credit to Trump where credit's due. He swept those people out.
Yeah.
And he even converted, for example, Marco Rubio was starting out to be one of those folks, and he's changed him.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it was Trump who changed him or just his constituents. Neocons. Thank you, Doug. Neocons. There you go. It was top of my head. I couldn't think of it. I'm getting old. so neocons, that's what they are.
I have my own words for them. Some of the better, more appropriate ones are the Beltway bandits and so forth. But every one of them's a zealot and an a-hole. So
they were just two sides of the same coin. Two sides of the same coin. Joe Biden, Dick Cheney, those were two sides of the same coin. Maybe slightly different views, but same thing.
You don't spend that much time rubbing elbows in Washington and not come out dirty. I mean,
100%.
Yeah.
And I think had Trump, I would like to believe, had Trump and Vance been invited, one of those two would have gone, because it's class. It's class.
Sure.
And especially Vance, he has a ton of class. A ton of class.
I think Vance would have gone for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
Ton of class. But honestly, I don't think either one of those men particularly care.
Yeah.
Particularly care. They look at this like, wow, so this guy is petty to the grave. Okay.
Sure. Well, I didn't know much about Vance before he became the vice president. But what I've seen of him since he's been in, you can tell there's some influence of Trump in him now, especially when you see some of his ex posts and some of his social media posts where he just basically calls somebody a dumbass. And you're just like, yeah, that's a Trump influence on him. there's no statesman in that. He's just like, you punch at me, I'm going to punch you back. And that's just the way it is. And maybe a little bit of that is the Marine Corps too, but it is funny to watch sometimes, because they like to, they like to bash on Trump because of the way he handles himself. Not very statesmanlike.
No, but decorum, right? Yeah.
Well, when you continue to call somebody Nazi, racist, every freaking
it loses
day,
its meaning for one.
Well, sure, but if I came into work every day and said, "Hey, Sean, you're an asshole, and walked off. Every day I called you an asshole.
Eventually,
Eventually,
it wouldn't mean anything.
well, it wouldn't mean anything, but eventually you're going to be like, you know what, Rob? You're a shithead. You would have to say something back eventually. And then all of a sudden, you're the bad guy because you said something back after I've been calling you an asshole every day for the last 6 months, you know? And I don't understand why people don't get that when they have done. And again, back to the media has done such a great job in demonizing him that makes it morally acceptable to call him whatever you want to, and then to act all surprised and offended when he says something back. No, you call me a name or you fucking punch me in the face, I'm gonna punch you back.
They say some horrible things about that man, some horrible things, and they were loving him up to around 2012, 2011, 2012. Sure. You know, they say some horrible things about him, but God forbid if he defends himself, and all of a sudden it's
oh yeah.
While we're on that topic, and we were talking about this earlier, so who do you think is, I'll tell you my pick, but who's your front runner for the Republican nomination?
We talked about this earlier. I think, me personally, and this because of the way it sets us up, I think Vance should be the president with Marco Rubio as the vice president, because that sets us up for a promising 16 years worth of a White House.
So I see why you say that, and that's probably how it's going to play out in terms of who's going to get the nomination next. I do think it's hard to predict out. The way I see things, it's really hard to predict beyond 4 to 5 years because a lot happens, right? You know, the economy, the economy could change everything. And in fact, we'll probably talk about that soon. But I find it hard to predict past 4 years.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think the person most capable and most ready to step in immediately, for as great as Vance delivers a speech, I think the most capable person is Rubio.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people will say that the Secretary of State is the number 2 position. You know, a lot of people just look at
in terms of power.
Look at the vice president as just the placeholder and a person who doesn't have any kind of authority whatsoever. And so a lot of people say that. But if you look at history and the way elections go, it is a shorter leap from vice president to the presidency than the next election. And you shift as we look at regular chain of command, everybody would shift up one. And I say I think Rubio would be very accepting of that, and I think Rubio would make a great vice president. And then that gives him that short leap after 8 years of Vance, or even after 4 years of Vance, and he can run on a completely different type platform. So that's the way I think it would go.
So I think so. If Vance gets the nomination, it depends on. So if he's going up against Newsom and it's tight, then you have to look at the running mate that he chooses.
Sure.
Who is that going to? I mean, he may have to pick a running mate from a state that he needs. He may have to now. Or he may have to pick. I mean, Republicans don't play identity politics, but
he may pick AOC, which would take his running.
I mean, sometimes you do what you have to do.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, you would pick your running mate based on who's best positioned to take over when, God forbid, if I'm running for president, I pass away, and who's best to take over. But we don't live in a perfect world.
Or you use the Dave Chappelle method and you say, I'm going to pick somebody so horrible behind me that nobody's going to try to assassinate me.
That's great.
Because if you assassinate me, you're going to get this asshole.
Or you pick someone who maybe didn't get infected by the COVID shot that badly and potentially not crazy.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
That rules us out, right? Because we both, I took it, so.
Right. Well, so you talked about the economy, and one of the biggest things in economy right now that's driving a lot, and it's driving it at so many different levels. What we're seeing in positives and negative ways is these data centers that are being stood up all over the country to support AI. Now,
Power, right?
one of
Power.
power
Yeah.
consumption,
Power
water
consumption.
consumption,
Mhm.
water consumption for cooling. There's a lot that goes into it. And they're putting us in places that, I'm seeing in a lot of very red places. And
Mhm.
why? Because the red people are very, more accepting to, hey, this is going to bring in jobs. This is going to do
Mhm.
this. And good, bad, or indifferent,
Mhm.
less cognitive of the
Mhm.
consumption of the resources,
Mhm.
right? Where Democrats,
Right.
and you saw this with the Amazon wanting to move in New York, where AOC
Mhm.
shot that down and cost them several thousand jobs, right? Now, what is this going to do to the economy, especially in the red states, going forward as AI continues to grab a foothold?
So, as you know, I've uh, I'm kind of in the middle of a slight pivot into AI, so I have a nuanced take on this, but I'm of a more optimistic tone when it comes to AI, and a lot of people aren't, but I'm of a more optimistic tone. I do think in the immediate, we will see higher unemployment as AI rolls in. And a lot of that's going to be due to the fact that companies are going to overcorrect, as they always have. They overcorrected back in the 1800s with the cotton gin. They overcorrected with the railroad. They
Correct.
overcorrected with the car, the airplane, with the spreadsheet. When Excel came out, there were layoffs of bookkeepers at first,
Right.
right? There's going to be across industries, even our industry, even IT. There's and it's happening now. It's happening with law firms and legal. That's initially because we don't know how to integrate it fully yet. I'm
Right.
optimistic that at first 2 to 3 years, there's going to be higher unemployment, maybe even at or above 10%, really high, unavoidable because of the capabilities of AI and what it can do. But I do believe the best path forward and what everyone, at least in this country, are going to strive for is the blend of both. That's
Right.
where we get best productivity, not AI doing everything by itself because it can't.
Right.
At least not until robotics catches up, and we're a
Sure.
good 15 to 20 years from
What do
that.
you see as the overcorrection? Give us some examples
The
of what you
over
see the
all right,
overcorrection.
so the overcorrection, Amazon, Google, these companies laying off 30,000 people. A
Right.
lot of those, mid to entry level IT, a lot of their legal staff, a lot of their HR and legal staff, because now legal staff, for example, they can lay off a lot of your entry level lawyers and have a mid level attorney do the work
Sure.
of 20 lawyers now.
Sure. Yeah.
We, as senior IT guys on the commercial side, could do the work of 10 junior IT folks. I
Right.
mean, that's in theory. Now, is that efficient? Not as efficient as retraining and integrating folks and having them become a force multiplier with
Sure.
AI. But companies don't think that. They think profit first, forward thinking later. That's the problem with a lot of
Yeah.
companies. They
Well,
think
I think
profit first.
the timing is probably the right one,
Mhm,
because you look at the boomers, right?
mhm,
That's the largest
mhm,
group out there, the
mhm,
largest of elderly.
mhm,
They're getting
mhm,
ready to age out of the workforce, right? And so
mhm.
you've got people like you
That's
and I
correct.
that have been
Mhm.
using computers since middle school.
That's
So
correct.
we've always had computers, and you get kids today, like my grandkids. They can pick up a phone today and work the damn phone better than I can, right?
Right,
And I've been doing
right,
IT for over 30 years.
right.
So
I'm
uh,
terrible with apps, right?
yeah, but yeah, I think the timing is probably right
Mhm,
about where it needs to be because of that, as those boomers age out. Now, one thing that I don't think that they've done, at least I haven't seen it, and I just thought of this a little bit ago. Why don't we ask AI how better to reduce the resources that AI needs?
So they have
Does it
asked.
not exist?
So the power requirements are significant. And that's where you come with all these deals that President Trump's trying to make with these rare earth minerals and trying to box China out from boxing us out from the rare mineral fight. That's huge. That's huge. I think this fight we're going to see in the coming year and in the coming 2-3 years, the disruption with AI is going to come to a head around the time of the 2028 election.
Yeah.
That's my prediction. It's going to start to come to a head around that time. My hope is, and this is always the case, is whoever is in office, regardless of if it's their fault or not. And I don't think that this is going to be anyone's fault. It's just the nature of what's going to happen. I think the person in office might be the one holding the bag, right? And I think I'm hoping that, and this may lead us into a topic of what's going on in New York and Seattle and LA with who they're electing. But if it's rolled out wrong and people panic and companies are slow to integrate as what they eventually will, I firmly do not believe it's going to be permanent unemployment and we're going to have to come up with universal basic income. And I'm not a believer in that. I'm a believer in integrating and retraining. That's what I think is going to happen in the end. New skills will be developed even at the small business level in all types of in professions that you never thought could use AI will use AI. But if panic sets in, I do think you will see more and more people grasp for fringe ideas. And this will probably lead us into a talking point of what's happening in New York.
Well, I've got
what happened in Seattle.
So you and I disagree on the right way to implement, right? AI.
Do we do?
You think it's coming in? There's not going to be any stopping it. That it has to come in, and that we need
it has to come in.
So, and I'm of the slower approach, and the reason being is, I mean, we remember the phrase that was getting people banned off of Twitter back when you say "learn to code," right? But you've got people out there, and it's of no fault of their own because those positions are needed, and it's needed right now. Where we need welders, we need mechanics, we need plumbers.
That's right.
We need people to do those jobs, and we will always need those jobs because I mean, until robotics gets to the point that robot
20 years, 15, 20 years,
and go to your house and fix your plumbing, you know, we're going to need those blue collar workers to do that. And while you can integrate slowly into some of the things they do, the problems still exist with the consumption of resources, whether it's power, water, or natural resources that are needed for AI. The problem and the next breakthrough that's going to help this is solving that problem. When I no longer need a data center sitting in the middle of Louisiana with thousands upon thousands upon thousands of CPUs.
With its own nuclear power plant.
Yeah, with its own nuclear power plant. When I can push 100% of that down to here without a cloud connection and still be able to function fully with everything still there. That's when we can get to that point and we're no longer relying on these data centers that are, you know, using all of that, then we can go a little faster. But until that's solved, we're going to end up in the same situation where we are right now, 50 years down the road, where some group of people are going to go, you're digging holes and you know, just like they do with oil, right? The oil is the big bad guys right now because the fossil fuels, you're destroying the planet. Well, nobody is thinking about it because of this lie and this push for green energy about the large holes in the ground from mining cobalt, about how they destroy the water table when you mine that cobalt and it gets into the water system. Nobody's thinking about that, and they're just pushing forward at such a pace and building all of this. Nobody's thinking, well, some people are, about the power consumption in that little town in the middle of Louisiana and the amount of water that is now in there, and everybody's water pressure dropped to nothing, and they can't even shower because it's all going to the goddamn data center.
So I agree that it should, and I agree with your points that it should be rolled out slower, and it should be rolled out with wisdom. Where I disagree with, and I think you might agree with this point, is even though I can see that it should be rolled out slower, I don't think it will be. That's the
No,
problem.
no,
It
companies
won't
are
be.
going full
I mean,
force like they always
what
have.
you're saying is right, but I think what I'm saying is what's realistic. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm saying what's realistically going to happen,
Yeah.
because what someone should do and what profit dictates what someone will do.
Here's
That's
a good
the difference.
example of where we're headed. It was just discovered off of the coast of California, thousands, not hundreds, thousands of barrels of chemicals that were
Mhm,
dumped there in the 50s because California passed laws that said you got to get rid of this stuff. They lied in the 50s about how many there were and
mhm.
dumped thousands of
Right.
barrels and then documented said, oh well, we dumped we dumped 50, right? And those are the types of things we're heading to because
Mhm.
many corporations are unethical
Right.
because they're chasing the dollar.
Right. So if a company, and I'm just going to throw out a company, okay? If if Kohl's thinks that it can make one extra dollar per head by implementing AI and laying off 10,000 people,
They're going to do it.
slow and wisdom goes out the window.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And this is how every invention in the history of this country has gone.
Yeah.
And it's I agree with your take that it should be, and I think we talked about
Yeah.
this privately. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying that, I mean, I'm tempering it with optimism. I think that take is optimistic too.
Yeah.
It should be slow. I just don't see it.
Well, that's why they need to solve the consumption problem. They need to
Correct. I
fix
agree with that.
the amount of these data centers and be able to reduce those because they're not able even right now being able to keep up with demand. I mean, we see it in our jobs, and you see it in the use of Chat GBT and Grok and all of these AI agents. And you can't log into a website
Mhm.
today without having some sort of
Right.
AI interact with it, right?
Right.
And until they solve the power consumption of all of this and
Mhm.
get that under control,
Mhm.
we're heading for some rough waters.
I think my last point on this is be prepared for some rough times, but me being the optimist, there is light at the end of the tunnel, like everything, like with
Sure.
The Wright brothers and the airplane, we will figure out a
Yeah.
way to integrate it because it's integrate or die. We
Yeah.
have to do it. If we don't
Well, and
do it,
and then we talked about more government, right? And nobody wants more government,
no one
especially
wants more
me.
government.
But government is always slow to respond. And so
Correct.
when you have companies out there like the ones dumping chemicals off the coast of California, oh,
Mhm.
well, we didn't do anything illegal because nothing was on the books, right? And so
Right.
you
There was
get
no
that unethical,
regulation.
yeah, you get no all this unethical stuff.
Right.
But
Right.
you brought up a good point about one of the things that's going to influence it, and we just saw this in New York, and we saw it in what Washington,
Seattle, right? Seattle.
where
Yeah.
we're seeing the election of socialists into office.
It's desperation is what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah. So
Yeah.
let's talk about New York and what that means because as
Mhm.
we talked about Texas driving the country and
Right.
California driving the country, so does New York City. And New
New
York,
York City does.
although New York doesn't speak for the entire state because there are some very red spots in New York.
Financially,
The
it does to some
the
degree.
voice out of New
Yeah.
York City is
Mhm.
larger than the entire state
That's
because
correct.
there's 10 million MFers in there.
Right. Right.
So
So New York for the longest time has, and it's been powered by millionaires and billionaires. And since since as long as I can remember, since for 2 centuries, it's powered itself to cater to the interest of these people and both sides of the coin. This isn't a Democrat thing. This isn't a Republican thing. This is the elected officials know who butters their bread.
right.
And I honestly, if you even see who Mamdani is really putting around himself, do you really think he's going to be any different? He's putting establishment Democrats around himself. He's not going to be any different. With that said, because that's who butters the bread in the
Right.
end. And that's what's wrong with New York. You want to fix a problem in New York, they have a law. I don't know the name of the law, but it's been on the book since 1961. They need to build more housing units, more condo units, high rises. They can't build more
Right.
in New York because of laws that have been on the book since the early 60s.
Yeah.
And it's NIMBYism. It's not in my backyard. It's to keep people's property values artificially inflated. It's to keep prices high,
Yeah.
to benefit the few that power that city.
Right.
That's what's going on.
Well, and the regulations, you brought up a good point. The regulations, I was watching something earlier, and in order to, let's say you own a building and you've got, 10, 10 spaces in it, right? And it's an old building and it needs renovation.
Mm.
They put regulation in place that by the time you've paid for the renovations and what you're allowed to charge, you'll never get your money back because they mandate you update the building. So you have to meet all of this new code. You have to put all brand new AC units. Let's just use that as an example. Well, the cost you have to pay for that renovation and those AC units, and then what they mandate you can only charge, you're never going to come out on the positive side.
Right.
So what's happening is people simply just don't renovate their buildings. So the buildings sit there empty because they can't afford to renovate them, and they don't want to give up the building. And so what do you do? Because I'm never going to have enough capital to go and update all of these buildings and then rent it out for a profit. I didn't get into this so I could lose money. You know, and that's the vicious circle that they stay in.
So the rank and file citizens who live there, they've been getting the shaft forever from both sides of the aisle. I get why, especially the younger generation, they're desperate. They churn to someone who's saying, I'm going to give you free shit.
Oh, sure.
I understand it. It comes without a ounce of knowing or understanding what's happened throughout history. What has happened, that system has never worked. It has never worked anywhere. It has crashed and burned and failed and has ended up horribly everywhere. What I think is going to happen is he may put in he may be able, because I think even Kathy Hochul is going to block some of what he wants to accomplish.
Well, and then he gets to blame somebody else. Right.
I think he's going to implement maybe 10% of what he wants to implement, maybe. And he'll have that one thing that is a minor, not even a success, that just is barely okay, and the media is going to frame that. Is going to frame that. So, it's a greatest thing, and that's going to give your AOC enough ammo to really make a run in 2028, and that's what concerns me.
Well, if I took $500 from you and I gave $100 to 5 people, I lost your vote, but I just gained 5.
That's right. That's right. Scary.
So I took the money from you, a working individual, and gave $100 to 5 unworking people. I just bought their vote. Simply through the guise of inequality, because you had $500 and they didn't, because you went to work every day and you got a good job and you got a good education. And so and that's the dangers of socialism. Because now you're never going to vote for the guy who takes away your cheese. You're going to vote for the guy who continues to give you a piece of the cheese.
Right. Ask the people of Venezuela, especially the people around our age.
Sure.
Late 40s, early 50s, how that worked out for them. In the mid 90s, they had the top economy in South America, the #1 economy. There were but they really had no middle class. They had the haves, they had the have-nots.
Yep.
And that's been a problem in South America forever. So what did the citizens do? They voted in Hugo Chavez. Within a generation, he turned that country from the beacon of prosperity in South America to they're
Food
literally
shortages.
They're literally eating dogs and cats. Not some funny meme. They're literally doing it.
Yeah.
And they have never recovered. The oil that they have oil that they can't pump now.
Yeah. 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 It's
That's
dangerous.
the lesson.
It's very dangerous. We've been going for about an hour. Any other topics you want to talk about?
I've covered everything I want to cover. We could go all night. There's a lot to talk about.
I do want to end on a positive note. So Trump signed the approval for benefits for those that were kicked out for not taking the COVID shot. So if you got kicked out of the military and you lost your benefits, you should now have those returned. And I think that's the right thing to do. So I'm super glad he did that. I wish it wouldn't have taken so long. I'm sure he had other things he was working on, but that should have happened a long time ago, especially when, he campaigned on that.
It's 8 to 10,000 folks, right? It was about
something like that.
It was 8 to 10,000. And I'm not sure, do some of them get to go back in, or is it the back pay and GI Bill benefits?
They did offer to let them back in at what their current rank was, but and I'm not surprised about this. Very few took them up on that. I want to say it was like within the 100, maybe a couple of hundred range.
Really?
Which why would you go back in when you've already been screwed over once by the government?
Right.
You didn't even get a kiss goodnight. So
I imagine the people who go back in probably need to hit that high 3. I would imagine if it's those couple hundred, it's probably those folks and your super gung-ho folks. But the vast majority, just they need the benefits. I mean, he kicked those people out and took their benefits. What is more they want to sit there and paint Trump as some Nazi un-American dictator. What is more un-American than kicking out people who don't want to put in an unproven, untested vaccine in their body, and you want to kick them out and take away? They've served their country selflessly, and now you're going to kick them out because they don't want to take a shot.
Yeah,
that's disgusting.
You just reminded me of two things. One, and we'll probably need to save this for another show because we could probably go on very long about it. And it's more media lies that I've seen this week. So there was I want to say he was first Desert Storm, Purple Heart winner, who was here illegally but joined the military and was given every opportunity to become a citizen, never finished his paperwork. He got out of the military and ended up getting convicted of multiple attempted murder charges and was originally sentenced to 53 years in jail.
Oh, wow.
He only served 15, then claimed that he had PTSD. Well, the Trump administration sitting back home. He's no longer, and so the media is like, the Trump administration is evicting a Purple Heart recipient. This hero was now, ejected from the country. He was never a citizen. And you forget the fact that he was convicted and sentenced to 53 years. He shot a pregnant woman. He sprayed into a crowd, and one of the women was pregnant. So he got charged with multiple accounts of attempted murder, and the media keeps that part silent.
Because it doesn't play into their narrative.
It doesn't play into their narrative.
Right.
So, but yeah, I'm glad he signed it. I'm glad I'm hopeful that they'll get the stuff that they need.
Me too.
I think that was the right thing to do. Again, I wish it would have taken so long. But I'm glad it's finally done. So, all right. Any parting words?
It's always a pleasure to have, to be on the show. Just thanks for having me on. It's a great pleasure just to talk and just to share these views. And I'm always happy to come on and share these views, however crazy they may be. So,
well, make sure you check out our sponsors, Marvita, the best fishing in Cabo. Alpha Elite Performance, take your workouts to the next level. Grill your ass off. Use our code for 15% off. Use Stu in the Nine and get 15% off. GrillYourAssOff.com. Your stop for seasoned sausage, jerky, and more. Some of the best seasoning out there. I use them. Their seafood napalm boil is the shit. Make sure you use that. Gear for Grunts, Rapid Access Magazine Pod for all your AR Star devices. Make sure you check them out. Thanks, Sean, and have a good evening.
Thank you.